We're gonna save this one for last, and once you see why I need to repot this one, you'll understand why. So I'm just gonna set her in this pot for now because that's where I'm gonna put the media so I can take it out immediately. I'm gonna do the easy one first. So this is my Angraecum leonis that I got from Brookside Orchids back in September of 22. It has been in this setup, which is small bark, large perlite. I think there might even be some charcoal in there, since March of 23, so a little over a year. I want to get her into moss because I am not able to keep up with the amount of water she needs. As you can see, especially by this leaf, it's dehydrated, and these don't look the best. So she's not staying dehydrated. She's growing, but I think she can grow even better if I keep her moisturized during her growing season. She does have some new root tips coming in, so now's a good time to change up the media. And I'm going to add some of the media that she has in here. I'm just going to add it to the moss to help keep her nice and aerated. Oh, maybe she has more roots than I thought. I am also wanting to kind of clean her. Oh, this does have moss in it. I did not think it did. Well, it does. It just doesn't have enough. So I'm going to add more moss, actually. And let's see. These roots, I'm going to cut off the ones that I can definitely tell are dried off. And these are sterilized. So let's get in there and cut right at that portion. All right, let's make sure I don't mix up my trash with what I'm going to reuse. Yeah, I watered her probably 2 days ago, and this is barely even damp. She's already dry. She is already dry. So I am definitely not keeping up with her needs. And if I break some of these, that's fine. Matter of fact, all of these are nice and dry. And probably not any good. And it's a branching root system. Yeah, see, this whole root system is dry. Do you see that? There's no green in there. Let me just follow it back then. Cut it all the way off. Oh yeah, that is like a little twig in there. So thank God she has these new roots coming to replace what I am about to cut off. Because when I put her in here in March of 23, I just took her out of what she came in and just put her in this. I didn't mess with the roots at the time because I didn't want to put her in too much shock. But now with the new root system coming, I think it's a good time to clean up all of these dry roots. And that may be why she's not hydrating either, is because she had no roots in there. So maybe it wasn't me, but it was. I was still part of the problem. Part of the problem. And I remembered to bring bamboo skewers this time because she's definitely going to need to get a little support while she gets these new roots in. And I'm going to take, so this leaf right here is already kind of yellowing and coming loose. I'm just going to go ahead and take that off. And then that will open up more space for more roots. Being careful not to damage. And I'm going to take this other little leaf right here off as well. There we go. Again, just to kind of give those roots room to come down. And for me to put her in, she's got a couple more dry ones here. Being careful not to cut any of those new ones that are coming in, because that is her future. Her future survival depends on those. And then maybe this one here as well, because it's already kind of coming loose anyway. This is the only Angraecum that I have. I've never owned one of these, and from what I have researched, during their growing season, they do like to stay damp. They don't like to dry out. They require a lot of moisture during the growing season. And then during the winter time, they kind of slow down. Now, because I do grow in my home, of course, she grows year round. I have noticed, though, that since the spring, she has kind of increased her growth. But I will be sure to put her new roots, because as you can see, she has nothing left. Should I just reuse this one? Or I did bring this one to use as well. I think I'm gonna use the round one just because I think it fits in her little cashpo pot here a little bit better. And I'm going to reuse my moss from the Oncidium that we recently repotted. And the good thing is I am going to be able to check off another thing off of my to-do. So excited. So let's put, oh, and I found my little scoop. I don't know if you saw the last video where I was like, I don't know where my scoop is, so I was using a different one. This one was on my desk by my computer. It was behind the laptop, and I guess it got buried just a little bit. Put a little bit more in there just to encourage, and I'm gonna go ahead and spray these and get these ready for the next one, just to make sure we don't cross-contaminate. Because if you don't know, the alcohol itself does not necessarily disinfect, it's the evaporation. And if you can put a flame on it, that's even better, but I'm in my house. I'm not setting a flame in my house. I'm not that brave. Let me get all of these out of the way here. I totally was not paying attention and just mixed in all the dead roots and the leaves with media that I need to reuse. Because there's nothing wrong with the media itself. Like I said, I didn't even realize I had moss in there, but apparently there wasn't enough to keep her hydrated because this moss it's dry. It is already dry. So she needs a little more in there than what I was giving her. So let's put a little bit more here, and then we'll add a couple of fertilizer seeds. And this is just the Osmocote 6-month fertilizer slow release. No sponsorship. It's the only thing with these leaves. There we go. That's why I took some of those bottom ones off as well. And then I'm going to put a stake on either side of her just to kind of keep her up and steady. And I might have to use some of the Velcro strapping later to kind of secure her until those roots kind of get in there and get settled. Push that in. Like I said, this is the easy one. The one that I put off to the side, I really probably should have dressed her a couple of weeks ago, probably months ago. But I was waiting to see what was going on with it. Because I do know that Orchiata Bark, sometimes the stuff it's treated with can kind of cause some funny looking things. But I don't think this is the Orchiata Bark. I think there's something seriously not right in that pot. Have I got your curiosity up yet? I hope so. Hope you stick around and see. And I did put quite the bark around the base of the lady that since I just cut around her. I don't want the base of her to rot. I am going to cover the new roots with moss, even though it wasn't in any media when we took her out. Since those roots, or the root tips, are nice and green, they should go ahead and adapt to this moss that I'm putting her in. And I'll give everybody a nice water once I'm done. Because like I said, this moss is dry that she came out of, and the moss I'm using is dry. So I really like using damp moss usually because it kind of sets better. But here we are. This was one of those split decisions. Again, sitting, trying to relax, happened to look over. I saw Morgan still in the tub, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to address her. I need to get her. I need to see what's going on. And then I was like, oh yeah, and then that one. And I said, you know what, let's just do all three of them. Go ahead and grab something that's on your to-do list and sit down and let's do it together. It's always much more fun and relaxing when you do things with friends, right? Instead of just always feeling like you got to do everything by yourself. All by myself. Don't want to do everything all by myself. There she is. I'll put the date and everything later. And I found that if I lay it across this way while I'm doing the videos or repotting just on my own and not recording, I remember to put the tag or put the date on the tag. Because if I just stick it in now, I'm going to forget. I know me, I'm going to forget. Move that one over here to the side. And then let me move all this big thing of moss out of the way. And then let me make sure there's nothing bad in here, because we are going to also reuse the bark in Miss Morgan. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I can put her in her little cashpo. I like that word, cashpo. It sounds so fancy. Cashpo. All right. So Miss Morgan, for those of you who've not seen the last two Saturday strolling videos, I've had this one since 2021. She has the most beautiful pink blooms. If I can find them, because I didn't have to do a restore on my computer a few months ago and I may have lost that one, but if I can find the pictures, OMG, gorgeous. She's never rebloomed for me. She's done all the leaf growth, never rebloomed for me. So she's been in this pot for about a year. As you can see, she is quite wobbly, and she should actually have more roots and should be more stable. Excuse me, not sure what's wrong with my throat there, but we are going to just take her out. She got a nice CalMag soak last night, and okay, well, that explains it. She does have roots, but she has a lot of dead ones in here as well. So let's clean her up. Let me just show you what we're working with here. So do you see how half of those are desiccated and no longer viable? So let's just start with those. These should be disinfected enough. Let's cut those off. So leave in the comments below if you are working on one of your projects, one of your to-do list items, and let me know what you're doing. It's always fun. This way I know I was not alone. Poor thing. She went in with such gorgeous roots. I think what may have happened is I may have let her just dry way too much, too long. Kind of ignored her. I should not have ignored her. Oh, that one's really not that good, but we also have to be very picky and choosy on what we cut and what we keep, because she's not going to be left with much. Not left with much at all. All right, so that one is dead all the way up there. Let's see, is there any more deads in there? No. So it looks like she was in small and medium Orchiata Bark, which I'll just put her back in there. And I am cutting this, even though it's going to cut off this much of the bottom section. Just want her to start off nice and fresh for this growing season. I was kind of waiting, or wanting to wait rather, for her to develop a new leaf or new growth, but at the same time, I was very concerned. I'm glad I went in now instead of waiting, because I believe most of these roots would have probably desiccated had I not gone on, looked inside. And also, when I repot a Phalaenopsis, I like to take off all of this old sheathing as well, because that's where your roots are coming from. And sometimes by removing it, it will help kind of stimulate the roots. Yeah, because it looks like she attempted to do several roots and they kind of stalled in that sheathing. Of course, when the orchid is on or in a pot, it's kind of hard to do this, but when I take an orchid out and I can just really get in there, I like to clean her up. I'm also looking for our uninvited friends to make sure that that is not an issue. And so far, I don't see any. And she did not, of all of the orchids, she was one of probably 3 that had no signs of uninvited guests. All right, so that one's okay. That one's okay. Yeah, we're gonna leave that one. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna leave that one. All right, and these do look a little tired. They are still nice and firm. I don't know how long they'll stick around. I kind of want to cut them off. But I kind of don't. We're going to leave them. Yep, we are going to leave them. And what we're going to do, I'm not going to put her in that big pot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put her in a smaller pot if I can get the roots to wrap in. So let's just see. But this is what I was talking about, how, see how that pot's just kind of giving way so that we can kind of get her in there. That's why I love these pots. Whereas if I'd have tried to do that with this one, the root would have definitely broken. It just would have broken by now. I think that is going to be where we are going to be at. So let's put some of the media back at the bottom. Trish, why did you put her in there and then take her back out? because I wasn't thinking this through. Like I said, this was one of those last minute, let's just get in there. Because I did say I was going to get to her today. Well, today is almost over, so I want to stick to my word. I want to hold myself accountable for what I say. I am going to put a little bit of moss with this one as well, just again to kind of hydrate and keep her going. So let's see which way would this one go. That way, and then we can do it like this. Since she is just like, I already have to replace my Sarai again and get a 3.0. I got a splinter. I don't want to replace the Morgan because I don't see her as often as I do the Sarai. In fact, I don't think I've even seen her since I got this. You know what? I'm going to cut this root right here that just popped off. Where is it? There it is. Just cut that off because there's already a kink in there and I'm not trying to have it die. Let's grab it. This one right here, it broke off of the base as I was pushing on it like a silly goose. Let's see, there we go. All right, now we're gonna pot her back up and we're gonna wish her luck. And when I get closer to the top, I will put some moss towards the base just to encourage some root growth there. Without it, it's not gonna be touching the base, it'll just be right up under the base to kind of help get some roots going. And I'm not gonna put too much, just enough to dampen and stay a little more wet than the bark once I do water her again. Since she just had that soak, she won't get another water for a couple of days. I will have to monitor a little more closely. She doesn't have a lot of roots in there, and the roots she is going back in with, they're not anything to write home about. I'll give her a little patty pat just to make sure everything goes in and settles. And then I think with that CalMag soak last night, I think that will help her as well because the media still, it's not wet, it is damp. I'm not using soaking wet media because when she's on the wall, she's going to be on the wall kind of like this. She'll be fine when she settles in a little, I hope. If not, if I find that she is still a little wobbly once I hang her up, I'll just put a little stake in there, kind of like so. You know what? Let's just do it. Let's just do it. I talked myself into it. Let's just do it. There we go. And then this way she can kind of lean on that for a minute. Hopefully rejuvenate herself. And then I did leave the roots. I like to leave the roots on the outside so I can kind of monitor. And again, we're going to leave the tag out. And now, brown cow. Let me spray this real quick. And let's, ooh, I did not give her any fertilizer, so we'll just drop a few beads on that side and we'll drop a few on that side. There we go. Let's move this out of the way so I can show you what we got. And I have, like I said, this pot to throw this media in. So this is my now pink lady. I used to call her small leaves because of, you know, she had little leaves compared to some of my other orchids at the time. I've had this one since 2019. She's been in this setup for a year, and I'm going to say about 3 months ago, I noticed what I'm about to show you, and it's gotten worse. It has gotten worse, and so now I am going to just have to start out fresh. And I realized I did not prepare the media I'm going to put her in, so once we get her unpotted, cleaned up, and looked at, I'm going to go get that set up. But, boom, we have, I'm pretty sure that's either mealybugs or mites or something. And that might be, but she doesn't have any mealybugs here, but I think that might be soil mealybugs or mold or something. Whatever it is, it needs to go. And I probably should put gloves on, huh? My gloves are right here. I'm just going to grab a set and put them on. This way I can take them off and I will spray her down and clean her up really good. And the reason I'm doing it now, she's got all of this lovely growth up here, all the new roots coming in. So if I need to cut everything that's in there right now and start her over, she has those that she can rely on. That's why I always call aerial roots the backup, or some growers call it Plan B. Either way, they're there to help you recover the orchid. And I really hate doing this, but I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze this pot. And then this pot will get bleached and cleaned and disinfected, all the jazz. Ew. Okay, let me just show you what we got here. So, this is what it is. And I don't know what, I don't know what that is. That's just gross. So, let's just shake her off. Because it doesn't smell moldy. Because this was on one of my other orchids, and that's why and Ken did mention that sometimes the Orchiata bark, with what they're treated with, like sometimes it'll do that. But the fact that it just was so bad in there, I was, no, I can't. Oh, gross. Okay. The roots themselves actually are not looking all that bad, and I don't want to touch too many parts of the orchid, but I am also wanting to spray her down with some hydrogen peroxide just to kill off what looks like spores. Yeah, let's do that, guys. Let's spray it down. So like I said, it doesn't smell like mold, so I doubt it's mold. Could have been, and it didn't look too much like mealybugs. It's kind of granular feeling. Get as much of this bark off of the roots as I can before we spritz her down. And this right here, as soon as I'm done, is going to go right outside the front door, right outside the door. And it's not even going to stay in the house. Did I get all the bark? Well, I got as much as I could. As you can see, like the roots don't have too much of that on there. It was mainly on the bark, and it could just be that it is whatever it is that they're treated with, but it just, I don't know, it just looks weird. And like I said, it's granular. Let me go get the hydrogen peroxide. I will spray her down really, really well. Get rid of this, wash my hands, clean everything, get her new bark, wipe her down real good, and then we will get her into another pot. Be right back. So all I'm doing right now is just kind of wiping her off, drying it off, just to make sure I didn't get any water or anything in her when I was rinsing the roots. So I did spray them really well with some hydrogen peroxide and let them soak while I was getting media together, washing out the pot, which I did leave at the sink. But I have another one, I think, over here. Uh-oh, I don't. Well, I'm going to put her in a different pot anyway, because I want to kind of wash that pot again, put some more bleach in it, let it sit, and then wash it out again. So this is what we're looking at. And I don't have to cut any of the roots. All of her roots are firm. I know they don't, I lied. We have a root. We have a root. We do have a root here that needs to be cut. I missed that one. That's all right. It's just the one. The rest of them, however, these are brown and they look a little tired. They're still firm. They're still working. And then the aerial roots, as you can see, are already absorbing moisture. So, and these root tips are really nice and beautiful, but they're going to go in the pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put her in this pot with the slotted holes, and I do have my large bark down here that I'm going to put a little bit at the bottom just to fill it in. And I grabbed this just in case I would need it. I hadn't really planned on using it, but now I'm glad I have it. This is, let me move this out of the way. And when I say large bark, guys, it's actually the Vanda orchid bark from Orchid Supply Store. But all of this that's in here is also from Orchid Supply Store. It is perlite, kind of I think this is a small, maybe the large, I don't know. But it's perlite, charcoal, and the large Orchiata bark, which really looks really medium. But if you know, which I didn't know this until I started using Orchiata bark, that their small is really, really tiny small, and their medium is what we would normally consider small, and then their large is what we would normally consider medium. But I kind of like it, and it is very long lasting. Yes, it is a little more expensive than the barks that we get at say your big box stores or maybe other orchid supply areas or other orchid brands, but it does last a long time. It really does last a long time, and you don't have to replace it as often. So you can actually keep your girls in their setup for anywhere from 3 to 4 years as opposed to 1 to 2 years. Depending on your orchid, I wouldn't recommend keeping it in there for 4 years, but you could if you wanted to. So this one has lots of aeration in it, so hopefully that will eliminate any future issues. And of course I'll have to find another decorative pot to put it in, and I've got more media than I'm going to need, which is fine. Let's see, will she fit in here? I might have to go with a different pot. I want her, let's see, let me do this without breaking anything. What's going to happen, and I like it, but I don't like it, if that makes sense, is these roots are going to start going through the holes in the pot. But I guess it's inevitable. I don't want to put her in another enclosure. Yes, I think that is kind of how she's going to have to sit in there. Like I said, she's probably going to start pushing some roots through the holes, but it is what it is at this point. There we go. She's going to sit kind of back so she has all that room to grow, and it's probably going to outgrow this pot in a year or two. But for now, I want to make sure she's going to make it, and I'd rather repot her in a couple of years than put her in a very large pot and then we end up repeating what we just did. Or she ends up declining and I end up having to get rid of her altogether, which would be really sad because she is one of the first orchids I brought into my home. So she was one of the ones that my daughter and I purchased when we went shopping for cleaning supplies to get ready to move in. And we saw her and picked her out and brought her home. Matter of fact, I think the other one, I can't remember, but I think the other one is already kind of gone on to the orchid fairies. Can't remember, but she was a purpley one. This one is pink. I'm going to cut this root because it's in my way. It's in my way, and she's got plenty of roots that this one is not going to make a big difference, I don't think. Actually, let's just cut it from the base. She's got all these new ones coming. And because I did hydrogen peroxide her and then turn around and watered her, she should, keyword is should, be okay at least until either tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or sometime next week when I do water her. I just hope that stuff doesn't come back, whatever it is. And I know last time, I think I had another orchid that had that, and I read what it was. It's some kind of a fungi or something another. From what I read, it's not harmful. It just looks gross, but I don't care. I'm not going to keep it on there. I got to get rid of it. It's too much for me. I can't. That one broke too. Just take that one off as well then. Yep, there we go. It was a root, doesn't have an active root tip on it or anything, so not a big deal. I keep saying that like roots aren't important. They are important, but as you saw, she went in with quite a root system, so I'm not concerned about taking 1 or 2 roots here and there. Now with the Morgan, of course, she was a little more lacking in the roots, so we had to be a little more careful with what we chopped off and took off and left off and all the stuff with the offs. Can you tell it's kind of late at night and I'm getting a little on the loopy-loop side? So this is going to be my last project that I'm going to do tonight. Promise. Maybe. Unless I try to sit down again and one of the other girls is like, hey, what about me? I'm going to have to tell her, girl, well, you're going to have to wait till tomorrow. It is late. I'm tired. I am getting really loop-de-looped. Let's see if we can just stick that right in there. I see a couple of little, and air gaps in Phalaenopsis are fine, but I am trying to kind of make sure she's a little secure in there. All right, well, don't forget to leave in the comments what projects you were working on while I was working on this project. And again, we do have roots to monitor on the outside there. And again, I forgot to add fertilizer, so let's just do a couple in there, and we'll just pat it and get them in there. What were your projects you got completed in this go around? And what do you still have left to do? Like, are you like me? You have like 2 pages worth of to-dos that need to be done. I think I've got probably about 6 I can take off of my list done in the last couple of days, but there's still a whole bunch more to do. And of course, with caring for these ladies, it's a never-ending list. And then if you have other houseplants, they have their own list of things to do.